Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, Yeukai Kechidori.
And on the show, I have a very special guest, Joseph Meuse. Joseph is an incredible man. He's going to be showing you how to navigate from the pandemic, from what is currently going on right now, into where you want to be. Let me ask you a question. Have you caught yourself wondering, how are you going to get yourself out of this difficult? Well, if you have, you are in the right place because Joseph has designed what we call the business GPS. Joseph, thanks again for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure to be here.
Incredible. Joseph, I know you've helped over 2,000 businesses to date, and you are excited to be sharing that knowledge which you've amassed over the years with our audience. Now, for those who haven't worked with you before, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. I started my first business when I was 19, and now I'm 50. So for 31 years, I've been going through a lot of the lessons and building and experiences that an entrepreneur goes through. And in the last 7 years, I started back in 2013 Business GPS with a really unique concept to take some of the knowledge that I had learned in that journey to other businesses. And what I realized, Yeukai, was that there's a lot to learn out there online in textbooks and school about how to read financial statements and how to go get customers and how to build a website. All things focused on growing the business in a nice organized fashion. But there's no textbook out there for what to do when the walls are collapsing. And some people think, well, I can call my attorney, and your attorney's probably going to tell you, hey, don't worry, if you get into trouble, then I'll represent you in court. And you can go talk to your accountant. And your accountant might say something like, hey, you should get more revenue. You should cut your expenses. But beyond that, those are very limited pieces of advice. How do you practically fight through every day when it feels like the walls are collapsing? The reality of, hey, listen, all that sounds good, but I don't have enough money for my employees. I don't know how to keep my lights on. I don't know how to keep moving forward. That's kind of the unique skill set that we bring to the table. It's a very practical set of strategies and roadmap that an entrepreneur can use to keep moving forward with their business.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. And what sort of results have you gotten for your clients, for those who are interested in knowing what you can do for them?
Sure. So our success rate is over 85%. We're able to accomplish our goals on our end, which is typically buying time, saving money, getting the business to improve their cash flow. I've got a wonderful story. I'm out here in Los Angeles visiting a client. When we started with them 18 months ago, they had 24, they were open, but they had 24 judgments against them in court. They had 2 ongoing audits with the IRS. They had a foreclosure notice from their landlord, and maybe about $14 million worth of debt.
Right.
Now they have about $9 million worth of debt. So it's still a lot, but significantly less. All the judgments have been resolved. The business is growing at a really rapid rate. And so I use that as an example. If it can work for them, why can't it work for you?
Totally. Well, we are excited to have you, Joseph, on here because in a moment we are going to talk about the step-by-step process that anyone can take if they find themselves in a very difficult financial situation given the pandemic that we are going through. Now, for anyone who is sort of deep down in, say, for example, difficulties right now, what is the mindset that you want them to have before we dive into the real nitty-gritties of today's topic?
Well, the mindset is probably the most important piece. It's the foundation. So for a lot of business owners, they're not used to being in this spot. And there's a lot of fear and uncertainty. They're used to controlling things, having everything where it needs to be in a very organized and structured fashion. And they're used to having control. That's what a business owner does every day. They try to control the outcome.
Sounds like you're talking about me right there.
Right. Well, that's the business owner knows best exactly what needs to be done when. You know exactly what needs to be done with your show, right? You have a vision and a passion for it. The guy with the restaurant down the street, it's the same way. He gets up early, his day ends late, but he's got a vision of exactly what it needs to be. It's control. So now you're in an environment where the business owner is thinking to themselves, I don't have control. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to knock on my door tomorrow. So the mindset is the foundation of where this goes. I tell business owners, listen, I can buy you time. I can reduce your debt. I can get everybody to work with you. But if you're not in the right mindset, then it's not going to work. So fear, in short, fear is the enemy. You have to get rid of that fear. And so some of what we do, frankly, is life coaching or business coaching to help them get rid of that. And then once you have a good mindset, then it's as simple as laying out some steps and a strategy that's unique to that business. I can talk about fear all day long. I mean, that is, when I look at the common thread, Yeukai, of why somebody ends up on coming to my office or using our services, number one is fear, and the fear gets them stuck. They can't take action because they're stuck in fear. They put their head in the sand or whatever you want to call it, but when the business needs them to put forth twice as much effort and action, they put forth half because of fear. And then number two, financial, the math of it. Business owners get wrapped up in so many things that they lose track of the numbers. And the numbers is where we try to also refocus.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. For those listening, you can tell that I'm taking notes as well, because this is truly what you need to learn. Joseph has been helping businesses for a long time, and there are traits, that if he has observed that if business owners do this right thing, they will be out of the situation they are finding themselves in very, very fast. Let's dive straight into the steps that you would help anyone who has been affected by the pandemic or who is struggling right now as a business owner, what they need to do right now. We figure out that fear is stopping them. They've dealt with that. What do they do next?
The next step is either with an Excel spreadsheet or even a piece of paper. You're going to write down what you think the next month, so the month of September. You're going to write down what you expect for cash coming in, and then you're going to write down in order of importance what cash you must spend in the month of September to stay open. And at some point, you're going to have the in cash as an addition and the out cash as a subtraction. And then at some point at the very bottom, there's a running total, right, that keeps updating as you write in every subtraction. And eventually that number becomes zero.
Yeah.
And that's where you stop. So then that becomes your roadmap of how you're going to operate in the month of September. Anybody can do it. The guy with the restaurant, the guy with the office, whatever. Anybody can do that. That is your roadmap. Okay, this is what I'm going to get for revenue. This is what I'm going to have to spend for costs to stay open. And then it becomes, how do I execute on that? But the great thing, let me take a step back. When you're in trouble, you're not thinking always clearly. Again, we talked about fear. Maybe you're going to go talk to some friends. Maybe you're going to talk to your spouse about what you should do. I don't know what you should do. And you're going to get a lot of positive feedback. Oh, don't worry. Things are going to get better. They're going to create a vaccine. People are going to start coming back. People reach for hope. And that's a problem. Plus, guess what? All the people you talk to, these entrepreneurs, they're positive people. They're can-do people. That's why we're willing to put ourselves through all the pain and suffering and getting up at 5 a.m. and going to bed. They're can-do kind of people. So the numbers are wonderful because guess what? They just simply tell the truth. They're just the numbers. So
this is true.
Block out all the optimism, right? Go straight to the numbers. Okay, so now that's your roadmap. Now, then the question becomes, you're going one step further, then how do we execute on that roadmap? Because that roadmap with that spreadsheet is going to say, I'm not paying my landlord. Or that spreadsheet's going to say, I'm not paying this person. How do I do it? Some of those are very tough decisions. Am I going to keep this person employed? Am I going to be kicked out of my space from the landlord? Anyways, so that's kind of the next level that you get to.
Amazing. Assuming somebody is having difficulties in, creating that roadmap, I'm sure you probably have met people at that stage. How can you help them? What can they do really to come up with those figures?
So I actually have many templates that I send to customers and to people even who aren't customers. Hey, you need help? Start with this roadmap. And then we just kind of talk through it because it's very similar to when somebody would have started the business in the first place. They would have sat down and go, okay, what's my plan? And oftentimes it's not a formal plan. Just say, hey, I think I can provide this product or service better. And then you write down a piece of paper. Here's my rent. Here's my costs. Okay, so it doesn't have to be fancy, but we do talk through it because if you're a restaurant and you have food costs, you have to pay for that food now. You get that food in on terms. So there are some nuances to it, but I always like, it's a great question. I always like the entrepreneur to try it themselves first and then send it back to me. So then that tells me a lot about that person, what they're thinking, how they're viewing things, how sophisticated they are or aren't when it comes to numbers.
Incredible. And while we are there, I know some people will be interested in finding out more about that. Where can they get more information or how can they reach out to you?
The best thing to do is go to our website, which is www.businessgtsllc.com.
Incredible.
And I spend a lot of my time talking to entrepreneurs every day. Some are clients, some are not. So happy to help anybody who's trying to figure out, okay, what is that roadmap? That's what I call it, a roadmap. What does that roadmap look like with those numbers? And we just spend a half an hour going through everything. So that's the best place to go.
Awesome. Joseph, assuming they've got that, and I know this also to be true of me, that sometimes I have a clear plan, but I just don't execute.
Right.
How do you help somebody who's very clear of what needs to be done, but they're finding difficulties when it comes to the execution part?
Well, the execution part, of course, is everything. You can have a great plan, but with no execution, you're stuck. Yes. And because of fear and because it can feel overwhelming,
that's right.
A lot of people don't execute, right? So it is interesting in talking about this. You see, the human element is so critical. Yeah. So what I try to do is I try to break it up into these small phases, and I try to get some victories out of the gate. Right. So let's not think ahead 6 months. Let's think ahead 6 days. Let's focus on what we're going to do today, tomorrow, the next day. And so if we're talking on a Monday, I'm going to give you a prescription of what to do the next 3 days to make your business healthier. And then you and I are going to talk on Thursday, and we're going to go over the next prescription, right, to phase 2 and to phase 3. And each of those phases is very different. It always starts with the roadmap, 100%, right? And then we also are diagnosing where we think the big issues are going to be down the road. the landlord, IRS, whatever it is. But the key is once you get some of those early victories and people see it working, then it snowballs. It's like somebody trying to get healthy and go to the gym. Once they see some more muscle, or once they've lost some weight, then it snowballs into they want to continue doing it. And so that's where the execution gets on track. And again, these are people who were willing and have been willing to get up at 5 a.m., go to bed at midnight for their business. So execution generally isn't a problem. It's just you got to flip the switch a little bit. You got to get them their, you got to get their mojo back a little bit.
Right. Incredible. This makes perfect sense. Even I look in my own life, when I look at those areas that I feel overwhelmed, nothing happens. But if it is in small chunk, bite-sized processes, I'm able to execute, and I see those little victories. They, lead me to something else. And again, even during this pandemic time, when people are feeling overwhelmed, just streamline it. Get somebody like Joseph. Look at things. What can you do today to make a brighter tomorrow?
That's exactly right. Take it literally a day at a time. And what I have found is after about 1 to 2 weeks, everybody's feeling better. Everybody's feeling confidence. And listen, it's not an easy fix, especially in today's environment. But as long as they see the trend line going in the right direction, or they see a light at the end of the tunnel, if I just keep doing it, then it works. But then coming back to execution, just to expand on that first. What the business owner should be executing on is the business, as if there were no financial issues. I'll explain that in a second. The business owner needs to focus on how do I get customers to the door, how do I keep my staff happy, and how do I keep the trains running on time.
Right.
That's it. What is a problem on the execution, go back to your point, is they get distracted because the landlord called them this morning at 8 o'clock and said, "Hey, Stephen, where's my rent?" And Stephen said, "Hey, listen, I'm working on it. I'm sorry, whatever." And that business owner, Stephen, hung up the phone, and now he's stuck here mentally. So even though he's going through his day, shaking hands with his customers, talking to his customers over the phone, talking to his employees, Stephen still is not himself because he's so stressed about the landlord. And so, listen, I view it as a partnership. You can't move forward. You can't get rid of fear if fear is always calling you every day, stressing. So the way that we do it, or how we recommend it, is somebody else besides Stephen, who doesn't have a vested interest in the business, should take over that fear. Take all those fear components out, and Stephen, you go back to doing what you love. Why you started the business in the first place. Help the customers. Let us deal with this. And we find that really, Yeukai, that lights that fire up there.
Absolutely.
And they go, "Wow, I don't have to worry about that?" No, you don't have to worry about that. I'll let you know when it's time to worry. You go back and do what you need to do. Because, not to be long-winded about it, but not only does Steve, in this example, have to deal with everything else, just think about it, even if there was no fear. If you just thought about he's got to do twice as many tasks, not only do you have to make the customers happy and deal with the employees and do the HR department, all that stuff, he's also on the other side now added a bunch of tasks for himself to deal with.
Yeah.
And landlords, IRS, etc. So now Stephen's working twice as hard.
Amazing. You are making it so simple. When I listen to you, it all makes sense. But imagine if you are in the thick of things, it's very difficult to navigate that. That's why we need, a third person, somebody from without to come and guide you through the process.
You hit it's like you've been on the phone with me with clients. You hit the nail on the head. As human beings, we overcomplicate things. All the what-if scenarios. Think about it in a personal relationship, some complicate things. And in a business, like we were talking earlier, we're all about control. So then we go to bed at 11 o'clock at night, and we're trying to sleep, and we're thinking about all the what-ifs. What if the landlord doesn't do this? Or what if I can't get my food tomorrow? What if? And part of my job, and I say this all the time, keep it simple. Keep it simple. If you have 3 or 4 things that are your goals today, just do those 3 or 4 things. That's it.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. As we come toward the end of our time together, I want to talk to you as a business owner, because put aside you helping other people. How do you keep yourself motivated as a business owner?
That's a hard one because it's a grind, because we're dealing with all the fires. We're dealing with the yelling people. We're dealing with the upset people all the time. And so it can be difficult. But what I find is to try to connect with somebody. I try to connect with a business owner in Texas or New York or somewhere where that person resonates with me at a human level. That's my friend. That's my brother. That's my sister. And I want to help them. And so that's what really makes a big difference. So, and then of course, when you have success cases, I just real quick, I took on a husband and wife who were 70 years old, been in business for 35 years. And they're, over the last year, when they came to me, I should say a year ago, completely broke, didn't know how they were going to stay in business. And we rolled up our sleeves and we kept them in business for the last year when everybody said it was impossible. And then they're in a business where the pandemic has actually helped them. So now they're calling me, thanking me. Oh my gosh, you were so right. Just buy time, stay in business, buy time. And you get those victories like that, and you go, man, I can't believe that. It just makes you feel good. And in moments like that, you go, I don't care if they pay me or not. You just feel happy that you've made an impact with people who needed you in their time of need. So anyways, that's a long-winded answer, but that's how I stay motivated.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Is that feeling of helping somebody, the feeling like you have contributed to someone's life becoming better? Nothing can replace that, not even money.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And what's your daily routine, that keeps you in shape for business or take on the world?
That's a great question. So, in the morning, I'm trying now not to work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I'm trying to take some breaks. I'm trying to spend more time outside periodically, daily, weekly, recharging myself. Because what I found is I can burn out. I never had that experience before, but this business is such a stressful and emotional business. It's a unique combination. And so when you tie those together, it's more prone to burning out. So for me, what I try to do is reconnect with nature, ground myself a bit, and then I can be recharged. I start the day with my list of all my priorities, and I end the day with my list of priorities for the next day. But for me, trying to avoid burnout is the most important.
Yes, take a rest. As one person said to me, that when you are tired and you're burning out, you end up cheating yourselves of reaching your goals. You might as well take time right now. Well, with that said, where can people, again, I know you've given that site before, but where can people find you, those that wants to work with you?
Sure. Find us online at businessgpsllc.com.
Incredible. There you have it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here. And again, if you are looking for answers to navigate out of this pandemic or any situation you find yourself in, reach out to Joseph or reach out to us or ask any questions in the mastermind group, and we will be happy to help you. Remember, we are in this together, and when we come together, we always find a solution that helps out everyone.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.